We will now call on Honorable Bakari B. Darboe from the GFA.
Good. Hello. How are you? Very good. Mr. Moderator, you are the chairman yourself? Mr. Chairman, Your Excellency, the President, Your Excellency, the Vice President, Cabinet Ministers, distinguished ladies and gentlemen, I particularly acknowledge the presence of party leaders who I believe this occasion is staged to give them the floor, to give their perspectives. I salute all of you. As they say, all protocols duly observed. Your Excellency, President Barrow, when your kind letter of invitation reached us at Gambia for All, we felt honored. We therefore like to thank you. We are also quite pleased to find ourselves here today to attend or even participate in this meeting. We do hope and look forward to learning from it, if not to contribute, but to at least learn. For this, we thank you very much. We've noted also the way this dialogue process is conceived of in terms of how it is structured across planned, we call them fora, sectoral fora, technical fora, to culminate in an open forum here, I think on the 16th. And we took note of the interesting subjects which have been selected for deliberation as themes. We really don't have much to say or to quarrel about that. We find the different themes quite pertinent, and we are quite hopeful that if justice is done to them, the outcome will be to the good of the country, and for that we commend you. I wouldn't even want to go into details of it, simply to observe that because of the urgency attached to it, we are particularly delighted that the management of public resources is listed as one of the topics that will be considered. Not to say the other topics are not important. In fact, as I said, the list is not necessarily exhaustive. But there is a particular urgency, in our opinion, Gambia for All, to reflect on the management of resources, not only as a democratic requirement, because equitable and effective management of resources goes to the heart of good governance, which is the heart of the democratic system. But secondly, ours is a situation of dire resource constraints amidst increasing needs of our people. So therefore, how we manage those resources is a very critical issue. And unfortunately, it's not just our observation at Gambia for All, but if you follow debates, if you also observe the mood in the country, there is a lot of concern and disquiet about a number of things going on that affect the management of resources, that even in some cases are tantamount to mismanagement of resources. I can cite, for instance, the issue of corruption, which has been talked about for a long, long time. And when we reflect now, over the 7 years since the change from a system which must not be forgiven for its record of mismanagement, but at least it's understandable in the sense that it was a dispensation which was by its very nature inefficient and corrupt. That's the dictatorship. Since 2016 change, the expectations have been that there will be a decisive and effective move away from the scourge of corruption. And yet, what we are seeing in terms of what has been revealed by inquiries that have been carried out, as well as regular periodic audits, is that if anything, corruption continues to fester, and therefore a major threat to effective and good management of our resources. Allied to it also is the question of commitment to ensuring accountability. Here we have to go again to the implementation of recommendations that arise from audits and other probes. Again, we are seeing some concern, developments which really don't seem to satisfy us. There is the fact, for instance, that when we look at the long period of stewardship under the dictatorship, the only or the major attempt to ensure accountability for wrongdoings during the time, apart from, of course, the human rights abuses which the TRRC process seems to be wanting to address, has been just the Jane Commission, whose scope, in my opinion, is rather limited in that it focused on the person of Mr. Jame and his close associates. I think the term was close associates. But it's difficult to make us believe that the mismanagement that had gone on during those long 23 years was limited to only what Jame and his people did and his close associates did. I think a much thorough probe into what has happened going on would have given a better signal to our commitment to ensure accountability. That apart, even the little outcome that we got from those inquiries in terms of their implementation and subsequent actions, which we seem to see as a reversal of what had been established against them, or in a way helping to cover up for impunity. These are worrying concerns. Closely associated again with the management or mismanagement of resources is the issue of waste in the government system. The state is proving extremely difficult and onerous for an economy like ours. I think this has to be looked at. It has to be looked at very seriously. The way these government resources are budgeted don't give the governed, those who are not in the government, a fair chance to bargain. We have to take what has been decided for us by the governors, the executive and the legislature. But if we had given a chance, I think we would have said, no, you are charging us too much for this. You people are charging we, the governed, too much for what you provide. I think that needs to be looked. That's another area which needs to be looked at carefully if we're going to improve on the resource management. Take, for instance, the civil service or the public services. Obviously, it's over bloated, it's top-heavy, and unnecessary. Some of us have had experiences, at least, of what the tasks fall to some of the outfits we see. Take, for instance, our diplomatic missions. I now see the norm is for missions to be over-bloated with ambassadors, deputy ambassadors, and so many, which are really not necessary at all. And these are very expensive, they make very expensive indents in the use of public resources. So waste is also another aspect which I think should be included in the consideration of the management of resources. Maybe I can cite a few more, but maybe I'll stop there. Just to give you an example, my reasoning behind saying that there is special urgency that should be attached to the consideration of the area of resource management to look out for possible improvements in that direction. That point having been made, the only other reflection I'd like to make is provoked by a thought that went through my mind as I listened. As I said, I did note the way this particular dialogue is structured, and I have no much quarrel with that. I also note that the topics listed for discussion are very pertinent. But I wondered really what really is going to be what's going to be the future, as it were. The moderator himself talked about guarding against turning this into a talk shop. And I also wonder whether, if it's not a talk shop, and the president did say he wants it to be institutionalized, which means that it's not going to be one-off, but it may not be one-off, it may be institutionalized, but what will be the substance? What will be the substance? Is it going to be another talk shop, as the moderator said, or some occasion for backslapping and scratch my back and I scratch your back kind of session? Or is it going to be meaningful input into the improvement of the governance of the country? I think really that we have to give a lot of attention to that. For instance, for one thing, it's important that we assign to this process matters that don't necessarily bring about stepping on each other's feet, on each other's shoes. There is a government in place which has got the mandate to run and has, of course, got to decide on direction of policy. But I think we can agree on issues that touch on basic values that we subscribe to as a nation. Values such as democratic life, or democratic system of government, values such as oneness of our nation, values such as equitable distribution of resources that we've just been talking about. And whenever those issues appear to be threatened by happenings or absence of happenings, then I think it's necessary to think of an appropriate forum for consulting and getting alternative views, if possible, with a view to building consensus. It's important that we go for a style of government which makes consensus building an essential feature, if not a cornerstone, of our governance system. This is really my reflection that I want to contribute to the idea. Not so much about the present session that we are convening, but the future of this as a style or as a feature of governance in the country. I think dialogue is important. It ensures inclusivity. It also goes to, as I say, help in building consensus, which is necessary in a small country like ours. I think with those few remarks, I want to take leave and thank you once again for Mr. President for taking the initiative.